Hey everyone, we are diving into one of my favorite data integration tool today called Airbyte. Whether you're a data engineer, analyst or exploring ETL, Airbyte is a really nice tool to know. And today we will go into what is this tool about, what it does and how to quickly get up and running. There are too many data integration tools in the market. You have Fivetron, another one called Stitch, Talent, and many more. But what makes Airbus stand out is its flexibility. You have so many options, and on top of that, most of the things are open source, and you can go and customize them if you need to. Apart from open source option, there is a SaaS version also provided by Airbyte. This is very nice if you don't want to start developing something or want to provision your own infrastructure. You can just start right away, sign up and create an account and start loading your data. Now, Airbyte supports over 550 connector as they states on their website. Connector options. What does it mean is that when you install Airbyte or you use their cloud platform, you already can talk to hundreds of CRMs, APIs, marketing platforms, ad platforms, and so on. And on top of that, you can also write this data to central data warehouses, for example, BigQuery, Snowflake, Redshift, and even more. Now, this gives you a lot of option for data integration, because if you have data that is coming from different sources which are heterogeneous, some are API databases or even file systems, you can combine them, integrate them into a central data location, for example, a data warehouse, which is great because then you don't have to write any code. You can only use the UI, which is quite intuitive, and start loading your data. Alrighty, so in this section I'll walk you through a simple example using Airbyte to move data from Faker source to Google Sheet. Now that I'll be using Airbyte Cloud in this example. So to start with, let's create a Faker source. Now what is Faker? It is a built-in connector that uses popular Faker library to generate mock data. It gives us a REST API endpoint filled with fake names, addresses, emails, perfect for testing a pipeline. We begin in Airbyte Cloud with a few parameters, for example, how many records do we want to fetch, and an optional random seed that helps us get a consistent data across runs. Alright, so as our source is created, now we will turn our focus to the destination. I'm going to use a very familiar Google Sheet. Sure, it is not high performance data warehouse, but for small dataset experiments or dashboards, I think it just works fine and perfect for starting out. So let's copy the link to our Google Sheet that we want to use as our destination. Search for the connector Google Sheet in the destination, then authenticate with the Google account that will have access to the Google Sheet. Finally, paste the link to the Google Sheet, press connect, and the destination will be created. At this point, we are ready to start creating a connection. Now, when we head over to the connections tab, we see that we have two options to define a source, which we already did. So we will select the other option for selected sources that already exist. We select that, then we select the destination. We can see that Airbyte can see three streams in the source Faker. And this is interesting because we didn't define them, but this was already defined in the connector. So the connector kind of give us this helper utility where we can explore the source inside inside the Airbyte. Now we have some options here, for example, a sync mode. Here we have several options for how we want to load data. For example, we can load data incrementally, or we can load data like a full refresh, so all the data is loaded every day, or only the deltas are loaded every day. Next, we have some option for scheduling the load. So for example, if our data is loaded after every hour, if we have sales that is coming continuously, we can set a schedule that please load the data every hour.
and then the full refresh or incremental strategy would kick in. Another thing is that we can also set how the destination tables would be named and how they're, for example, in our case, how the Google Sheets will be named. Do we want to prefix them or not? Maybe it's nicer to tag our connections, and that's it. We have our connection ready. Now, what does it mean that the connection is ready? It is important to understand that when we create a connection, it may or may not start right away. In this case, you can already see we have this syncing going on. This means that the data is actually copied over from the faker source to Google Sheet. And you can see that for each stream, we have a single row here. We can look at the logs of what is going on behind the scene, and let's go to the timeline tab, view logs, and here we can see there are several types of log. For example, some of them are related to source, some destination. We don't have anything yet, but once the Airbyte will start loading the data, we will see that logs will start appear here. After waiting a while, I can see that the data has already been loaded into our Google Sheet. You can see different sheets showing the data, for example, users, and then purchases and products. All of them are loaded into their respective Google Sheet. So really the job is successfully completed. We were able to load data from a source to a target nicely and easily just with click. So I've run this for the last several hours, and you can see a nice report here showing up. All right, so that was a nice little introduction to Airbyte and also a demonstration on how it works in Airbyte as an Airbyte cloud. In the next video, I will show you how to connect from Salesforce Cloud to Google BigQuery, which will be a more reasonable use case. For example, if you're a company or an organization that stores their data in Salesforce and want to do some analytics in BigQuery and maybe show some dashboard to someone in Looker Studio. See you then. Thanks. Bye.